You're listening to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based grief and loss podcast for Black women, where you will hear stories of miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, and infertility to learn there is a testimony in tragedy. You will learn how to heal, gain clarity, find hope and peace, and turn your pain into your purpose after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. McAfee. Welcome to episode 67 of the Sisters in Loss podcast. October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. All month long, we are discussing life after loss. In today's episode, we have Renee Coakley, a certified holistic health coach who shares about healthy living after loss. Renee experienced a stillbirth of her son in February 2017 at 36 weeks gestation due to a placenta abruption. Renee helps transcend women through their motherhood journey to live a life of holistic mindfulness. In this episode, Renee shares how her stillbirth led her to the work of holistic health and how we should be living healthy lives after loss. Here is Renee Coakley. Thank you, Renee, for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So I'd like to begin for you to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do.
First, my name is Renee. I live here in Detroit, Michigan. I'm currently a manager in retail, but aside from that, I've recently been in school to get my certification to be a holistic health coach. So essentially, I will have my other business centered around assisting mothers throughout their wellness journey from a holistic standpoint. And when I'm not doing that, I am just out and about, hanging with my friends and just enjoying this good weather.
Awesome. So take us back on that journey to motherhood and tell us your loss story.
Yes. So this week, actually, my son would have been a year and 4 months. So I ended up having a placenta abruption. This was February 12th, 2016. I was a few days shy of being 37 weeks pregnant. My son passed away on a Sunday, and I just had my doctor's visit that Thursday. When I went in to see my OBGYN, she was a little concerned because he was measuring to be a little bit smaller for where I should have been at 36 weeks. So she made an appointment for me that same day to go to the maternal fetal specialist. I did that, went right over to the specialist. They did a Doppler ultrasound and just some more in-depth monitoring of the baby, and she didn't feel like anything was at risk. Even when I was leaving there, she told me I was in the lowest percentile for stillbirth, less than 1%. And she made my follow-up appointment with her that Monday. So I left there, went home, just relaxed, and I had to work that whole weekend. So I went back to work that Friday. Everything was fine. Went back to work that Saturday, and everything was fine. But it wasn't until later on in the night when I started to just feel a lot of pressure, and it wasn't really moving much either, like throughout that evening. But I just figured that was kind of him sleeping. So it was about probably 3-4 in the morning. I could feel like he had dropped lower, and in my mind, I'm thinking that I'm having breast and hips. So I didn't really know what to expect or what that felt like. But I called my doctor. I let her know what was happening. And she told me to just drink something sugary to see if the baby would start to move more. So I did that. Still nothing. So I took a bath. I just tried to get very comfortable because I was so uncomfortable. It was really painful. So we got up, went to the hospital, and once we got to the hospital, when we got into the room, 2 doctors turned into 5 or 6 doctors, and that's when they told us that they couldn't find the baby's heartbeat anymore. So we have some time to ourselves to just get ourselves together and process essentially what they were telling us, but more so for me to process the fact that I still had to be prepped for birth, knowing that my son had already passed away in my womb and me not knowing why. And mind you, like I said, this was a Sunday and I was just at the doctor's office that Thursday. So I was just mentally trying to prepare. So not too long after that, the doctor comes back into the room and she tells me that they're about to prep me for emergency C-section. So I get prepped for that. Nobody could go back there with me, so it was just me by myself. And I was being put to sleep for that. So I didn't know what was happening or what was taking place. But after all that was said and done, that's when I found out my placenta had ruptured, and that's what had caused him to pass away that day.
Wow. So how did they find the rupture? Did they find it during like an ultrasound once you got to the hospital and got to triage? Or did they just tell you after they did the emergency C-section?
They told us after they had did the C-section. So that was the end result. But a few doctors had different opinions in regards to the how. Someone thought that I had, I can't think of what it's called. It starts with the H, because I kept getting so many different terminologies, but not hypertension, but I can't think of what it's called. It's something very common, preeclampsia.
Okay.
One person thought I had preeclampsia, but somebody else thought that I had something else that started with the H. I truly can't even remember the name of it. And then they were talking to me in lingo that I already didn't understand. So it was definitely a frustrating process. But a month after that happened, I had a meeting with my OBGYN. We met for my maternal fetal specialist. We met for a little over an hour, and she was able to just go through with me all the detailed paperwork from the day that I had the visit with her to what the doctors thought that had took place, the cause for my placenta abruption. And it's literally, she told me that it's like my body just literally just changed in an instant, because my whole entire pregnancy, I had a very healthy pregnancy. I had a really amazing pregnancy, and nothing happened within my body or my visits that would have led or alerted them to feel this was going to happen. So everybody was very emotional. Even the doctor that had to do the C-section that day, when we came in there, everybody was just really devastated. And I was too, but in that moment in time, I couldn't mentally process what was happening, because it's like I just could only process enough to be able to get through the procedure. And then I was in the hospital for about 5 days, just healing from the C-section. And we got time to spend with DJ. And then we just wanted to have him checked out. So we just wanted to make sure that he was healthy. So after they did all of that, he was 100% healthy. He didn't have any birth defects or anything.
Wow. And I'm not sure if you know this about my story, but I also had a placenta abruption and with my rainbow baby. And it's the reason why my son has cerebral palsy, because he was without oxygen for some unknown period of time. By the time we got to the hospital, they heard a faint beat of his heartbeat, and then they immediately rushed me back. And then they told my husband that I had a placenta abruption, and as a result of it, since I lost so much blood, they had to take my uterus. So I had an emergency C-section, hysterectomy all at once.
Oh my God!
So your story touches me, because I think back to that day and the trauma that could have happened, and that my son may be disabled, but it blesses me to know that your life was spared, my life was spared, your baby's in heaven with my other babies, and and I still do have this miracle that's here, that's a living that I can look at every day, and it blesses me knowing that. So thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate you sharing.
And thank you for sharing, parts of your journey with me too, because I didn't know that. And it's like I had no idea what a placenta abruption was until I experienced it, and you could probably agree and say the same too. And like you said, you just don't realize how precious life is. Even, with the state that your body was in going through that pregnancy. And I could say the same for mine too, because it wasn't until after I met with my OBGYN, she had shared with me, if I had have gotten to the hospital any later, I would have passed away because I was internally bleeding. Exactly. It was the same exact situation, right? And I ended up having all these blood infusions, and it was just what is life? What is happening? And it's very rare, I feel to actually connect with women with our stories, because I was longing for that when I first went through this. I didn't know anyone that had went through a loss. Everyone I knew had their children here, and I was pregnant with friends at the same time too that their children are all here. So now that it's been over a year, I'm slowly but surely connecting with women like yourself and other women that have gone through what I've gone through, and it's really it's a comfort and support to know that there are women that understand to that capacity and level. Right. And we are on the other side of it. And I think that when you think of the infant mortality rate and then the Black woman mortality rate for pregnancy mortality rate, that, a lot of Black women in particularly die from internal bleeding due to some type of placenta issue. And for God to both spare our lives is just, and for us to be able to share our stories collectively together on this podcast is healing for us, but I know it's going to heal someone else. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we were able to share and talk about it openly for everyone to understand how serious a placenta abruption is. So. Oh my gosh. Yes, girl. We are a community, not the community we want to be, but we are a community, and we are here to support those that unfortunately may experience this same exact situation. Right. So take us back on your grieving process. Did you have a funeral for DJ? And then just take us back on how you grieved and you went through your healing process. Yeah. So we didn't have a funeral for him because we weren't here in Michigan where our actual family was. So we ended up getting him cremated, and we had a lot of family and friends come visit during that time. So it was literally a month's worth of people coming to support and just be of help, whether it's to myself or DJ's father. So that was definitely a blessing. But for a very long time, when it first took place, I was just in a deep, deep depression. I didn't do much. I barely left the house. One thing I did do, though, because DJ's actual due date was March 7th, one of my best friends had came to Georgia to visit me, and we hiked Stone Mountain to let off balloons for him on his actual due date in honor of him. So that gave me temporary comfort. But aside from that, I was literally in this depression of a routine of just waking up and just laying in the house. Eventually, as I got more strength, I would do laps around the neighborhood and go back in the house. When my strength started to build up a little bit more, I started going to the grocery store, but going to the stores were super painful because I spent so much time at Target in the baby section and, at Babies R Us and all those stores preparing. So, and I had a couple breakdowns in the store, so I just left and went home, and I'm just I'm not going to do that for a very long time. we had a lot of people that were very supportive in a sense of like making food for us, bringing it over, sending us gift cards for food, things that you don't think about that you would need, like you just never thought about. And it wasn't until about maybe 4 months after DJ passed, I started to seek God again. And quite naturally, when you go through something like that, the first people are so quick to just say, like, trust on God, lean on God, it's going to be okay. Everything happens for a reason. All of those are like a broken record to me, and it meant nothing to me. So, and I grew up in church having like a spiritual relationship, but that situation just made me very angry, and it made me feel all the emotions that somebody could possibly feel. And I had to let myself be ready to have a relationship with God again. And when I was ready, I just started seeking. Well, I have particular pastors that I enjoy following their ministry, but when I was ready, I just started seeking messages that just pertained to giving me strength. And whatever I was feeling that day, I would find a message for it. I would read that in the Bible, or see if I could find a message that correlated with the pastor that I enjoyed listening to. And it was a long journey, and it still is a long journey, but I think just allowing myself to just be quite often and experience whatever I feel that day, whether if it's, me crying and being a hot mess, me not getting out of the bed, or, I don't know, me at some point finding grace in God sparing my life and grace in this being my story. I embrace that, but I definitely did it in my own time.
Awesome. Are you unsure how to begin to heal after loss? Are you feeling stuck in your grief? Are the things around you triggering you back to those dark moments? Please join us nightly during October 15th through 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be discussing life after loss. We will begin to challenge ourselves daily with prayer, meditating on God's word, and healing ourselves after loss. Join us as we discuss facing your pain, self-care after loss, journaling your pain purpose, and life after loss. To register for this free online summit, go to ericamcafee.com/summit. That's ericamcafee.com/SUMMIT to sign up for this powerful online healing. I hope to see you all there. So tell us about basically any resources that you use. Tell us about the resources that you use or any tools that you use that can help the listeners on their healing journey.
Mm-hmm. A big help for me was finding a mom loss group. And I had a friend of mine that reached out to me because someone close to her that she knew had went through the loss of her daughter at 35 weeks. So I connected with her, and she invited me to join this mom loss group. And it was like literally what I needed. Like, I joined it like the second day I was in the hospital. And so I was able to just write and share how I feel. Other women just giving me support and listening. And even if it wasn't, them giving me a whole word, just listening and letting me say what I have to say and to just hear, I'm thinking about you, or, we understand, like, it just gave me so much hope and so much support. So I would definitely say finding a mom group, even the hospitals occasionally will have like a grief group as well. Something like that as an outlet is extremely important. And then I also got a therapist when I was living in Georgia that I really enjoyed. And she was able to support me on a different level and really like help me unpack things that I've been holding on to for a really long time. That helped me. I was given two books as well that pertains to grief. But I'll be honest with you, to this day, I have not read them because I don't know if I'm 100% ready. Mm-hmm. But when I am, I definitely will read those, and I'll have to share those with you. I think one was called Cradle to Grave. Probably saying that wrong. But
you said Cradle to Grave?
I think it was Cradle to Grave.
Okay.
I'll have to find it and tell you so you can list it. But I do have 2 books that pertain to that. And just building up a support system of people that are there to truly support me and that were very present. Because I noticed the difference. I had some friends that were, like checking in, being consistent. I had some friends that never said a word. And I kind of just started to decipher that over time because I had to have around me what I needed. And to this day, like the people that pour into me when I have these moments, those are the people that I keep around closely.
Awesome. So let's talk about your wellness business. I know you're getting your certification now. So tell us a little bit about your business and what can the moms expect from it?
Yeah. So I'm really excited. It's called Mommy Be Well. On Instagram, it's mommy.bewell. And I essentially want to focus on supporting moms and helping them live a life of mindfulness throughout their motherhood journey, be it expecting or, have already given birth, from a holistic standpoint, things that can contribute to the way they eat, their overall mental wellness, spirituality, relationships, and so forth. I'll be offering coaching for that in the next few months to come, but my account right now on Instagram is centered around just generally sharing what it is that I'm learning and taking in. So I'm really, really, really excited because, like I said, my pregnancy was amazing. I had a very, very healthy pregnancy. I learned so much. I feel like I've learned more now than I did when I was expecting. And they're just things that I want to be able to share because I don't feel like it's very common that people that enjoy living that type of lifestyle have that accessibility or have resources and tools like that. So that's how I want to be able to serve women and give back my part through my situation.
Awesome. And we know that we all should be living healthy lifestyles, not necessarily if we're trying to get pregnant, but I mean, having, exercising and eating right is only going to help you have a healthy pregnancy and bring your happy baby home. Like that's all. I mean, we all know the statistics around Black women and our health issues. So we want to make sure that we are doing our part, our due diligence. And I'm talking to me right now because I need to get back into the gym.
And I'm still talking to me, so you're talking to both of us right now.
Right.
This is why we're learning, so we can share and give back amongst each other. Because even like you said, amongst Black women, a lot of the things that I know that I've learned didn't come from Black women. They came from my surroundings where I worked and other women that are prevalent in the holistic wellness industry that are not of color. So these resources and tools and this information and this care just needs to really be shared and really just be, brought into light a little bit more.
Right. I completely agree. So what encouraging words can you give the mom out there who's still in the wait for her baby?
I would say enjoy the process. Love on yourself first and foremost, ensuring that you're whole and you're constantly giving yourself the care that you need mentally, physically, continuing to be prayerful like myself, because after DJ passed, I was like, I got so excited looking forward to motherhood. I was like, I would love to have another child right now, but the situation I'm in, I'm not even dating. So, whenever that comes around, God's perfect timing, knowing that what God's plan is for our life, continuing to walk in alignment with what He has planned for your life, and being faithful. Because if you're destined to be a mother, you're going to be a mother. The timing is just going to look a little differently. So just finding whatever it is that builds your foundation, being rooted in whatever makes you you, and, just having a soft heart to just continue to receive and give love, and just trust and believe that when that timing comes, it is going to be God's perfect timing for your life.
Awesome. So where can we find you on social?
Oh, yes. So on Instagram, my personal Instagram is I am Renee Ashley, ReneeAshley. And my Mommy Wellness Instagram is mommy.bewell, Cowell. And I'm on Facebook as Renee Coakley, Coakley. I'm very easy to find.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Renee, for sharing your story and your experience with us. It's been definitely a blessing to know and connect with you, especially the fact that we share the placenta abruption in common. It's awesome.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful for you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I pray that this show was inspirational and a blessing to you. For show notes, visit ericamcafee.com/podcast. Please join us in our offline discussions in our private Facebook group by going to sistersinloss.com. If you're listening in Apple Podcasts, please rate and subscribe to us and leave us a 5-star review. I pray that you all have a blessed week. Keep the faith, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday.